Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday's live Q&A. So I'm going to wait just to see if anybody does jump on live today, and welcome everybody to our amazing Monday. And I've just realized in the heading that I've already made a spelling mistake, so that's a good start. So jump on with nay questions. Let's just fix that. I don't know how that's going to work. All right, so welcome everybody. I have no idea now that I've edited how I go back in and actually post it. Oh, it's down there. So welcome everybody to Monday, back to our Q&A live on Mondays. And today we're going to chat a little bit about networking. So if you do have any questions, then pop them in the comments about networking. But I'm going to share a story with you about networking, about a recent situation that I was in, so that it just helps people about how to sometimes redirect questions that people give you as well. So I'll just wait to see if anybody else comes on before I go into my story, because then people will jump in halfway through. So let me know if you're on. I see there is a few people already on. Then let me know who's on. Give me a wave in the comment section. And if you do have any questions around networking, then let me know. And if you're watching on replay and you do have any questions or comments about my story, or you do have any questions about networking, then pop them in the comments as well if you're watching on replay, because I will answer them. I saw someone do a like, but I didn't see who it was. Type into the comments and say hello. I didn't quite catch who that was on. So my question, I've set myself a bit of a goal to attend 2 networking events plus an event or a seminar a week. So which means that I'm faced with every week a lot of questions around what do you do, right? So when it does get to the end of the week, sometimes by the time it gets to the end of the week, I'm a little bit over those conversations and a little bit over answering those questions. So for people that know me and know what I do, and it's just to explain a little bit about wanting to change the way in which we do networking, because what I find is that we're so focused on what the person does as their business rather than the person, rather than the human being that we are when we're there. We're more than just our business. So by changing the way we network means that we get to have more conversations and below the surface level, which I know for some of you might be uncomfortable to share things about yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to go right straight into all of those stories and your life story and everything that's happened to you. It's just about becoming more human to human connections and building relationships. So I'm all about building relationships up rather than just finding out what people do, because there's more to that. And I believe that it's not about who you know, it's actually a lot of the time about who they know. So you want to be able to build that connection. So now that a few people have now come on, I'm going to share with you this, and I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, and it was on a Friday. And it was a Friday, late afternoon, evening. So by the time it got to Friday, you're at the end of the week. And it was a social networking event, and I hadn't been to it before. So hey Lorraine. So I went to this event thinking, well, it'll be a little bit more casual, get to know some new people, and I invited one of my friends to come with me. And that day, the traffic was jam-packed on the highway. So I was late in getting there, plus the event organizers hadn't moved the pin from the map, which meant it took me to the wrong place. So if you're creating events, FYI, make sure that you're putting the right location, because I could quite easily just have gone home, because I was getting to that point where I was super late. It was late on a Friday, and I thought the universe was telling me not to go. So make sure that you go in and make sure you put it at the right location for people, because like myself, I'm new to the area. I don't know certain places. So anyway, I got there and I turned up. And anyway, as soon as I went in, I was faced with someone who came right up to my face and said, "What do you do?" And the person had obviously been there for a little while, and they'd had quite a few drinks. So they were there to obviously have a little bit of a social, you know, let their hair down on a Friday afternoon. So, you know, when people have been drinking, you know, sometimes that your communication skills and a lot of things can change. And for someone who hasn't had a drink in 4 years, I'm a little bit like your kind of ex-smoker when it comes to things like that as well. Anyway, I felt like it was really quite in my face. It was really quite aggressive and arrogant. So I really wasn't prepared to actually go into what I did. I actually said to the person, I said, you know, maybe we want to get to know each other a little bit more than just, you know, coming right out and asking me what I do. Because I already had my back up a little bit with the way that I was asked. And anyway, the person replied, well, this is a business event, so we want to know what people do. And I replied back again saying, yes, but I'm also a human being, and there's more to me than just my business. So, you know, there's other conversations that we can have. Anyway, he wouldn't let up, so I did, and I said, well, I help people to be able to become more clear and have clarity and confidence around what you do in your business, and being able to do that more effectively than you are currently right now. And anyway, he kind of laughed a little bit and said, you know, maybe I would need your services. And I thought, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. And I ended up walking away and going to sit down. And I thought, oh, that's a little bit interesting. It's not a great first impression either. But luckily, you know, I'm a little bit thick-skinned, and I can deal with people like that. But in that moment, I have a little bit more of that story to go, is that just because people ask you what you do doesn't mean to say that you have to give them those answers. It's okay to say, you know, I'm actually here because I want to get to know people for who they are. Maybe we get to know each other a little bit more. Maybe when it comes to around the table, I'll introduce myself a little bit more. Because we should never communicate the way in which we believe that other people expect us to speak. So I hope that makes sense to you, right? Because we should be able to speak how we feel in that moment, and not as a script, not as what other people expect us to do. And that's what I find when we go to networking events, is that what do we do, or what do you do question initially makes us want to potentially please the other person and say what we believe the other person wants to hear from us. And that is not the case, because we're giving our power away to these people. And it's okay to redirect it. And I wanted to stand my ground. I had boundaries, and I have full value and respect for myself and what I do. So then it came to sitting at the table, and eventually, maybe within 20 minutes, half an hour, somebody decided to, you know, do a bit of around the table. And this particular person had obviously had some more to drink. So when people were saying, "Hi, I'm Melanie," he was repeating it again. And what I believe is that when you have certain people in a crowd and they've been together for quite a long time, is that that's the way that person behaves. And people just go, oh, well, that's just the way that person is. And I believe that it's not. I believe that just because someone behaves that way doesn't mean that it's right. And when you're bringing in new people into that group, then I think people have a responsibility to ensure that people are welcomed into that group. So it was a bit like being at school and being with the class clown that was going to be there. And I thought, that's fine. So anyway, it eventually came round to me, and the person said, well, now it's the princess's time. So I thought, well, that's quite interesting. And I had a little bit of a chuckle about it. I thought, oh, that's fine. I can be the princess. That's fine. And I introduced myself and said to the table what I did. And he then ended up saying, you know, oh, maybe I would need your business. Do you have a card? And I thought, that's fine, I'll give you my card. And so anyway, it was my last card, and I gave it to him, and I said in front of everybody, I said, you can take my card. I said, but I don't actually work with everybody. I said, so I would actually need to qualify you to see whether or not you would be a fit to work with me. So, and everybody did laugh around the table, but I was right. Just because he wanted my business card, and just because he thought, oh, well, maybe there's something in this, he'd already kind of ruined that relationship from the very start. So I wanted to make it very clear to that person that yes, they can take my business card. However, I'm unlikely to want to work with that person, because I'm not going to work with people that behave like that. So we also have to think about it at networking events, is just because people ask us what we do, and if you're in, you know, you're wanting to get business, you're wanting to grow your business, you've got a target, is just remembering your own worth and your own value of what you do, and not allowing the behaviors of others to dictate what you do and how you respond to that. And I just thought, I'm going to stand really firmly on this. And I actually was approached by other people, and I've had further meetings out of that event, not by that person, which is fine. That's okay, because that's not somebody that I want to work with. There is other people that were at that table that I do want to work with. So again, I was communicating very clearly to state to people around the table that I'm not okay with that kind of behavior, and that I do not work with everybody. So I was already clearly communicating what I do. I was clearly communicating that I'm about relationships and relationship building. So you start to filter out the rest of the people around the table, because then they're looking themselves going, well, do I qualify to work with that person? Have I got what that person's looking for? So I share that story because I want people to know that you can redirect that question. If you are in if your value is around building relationships with people, then redirect that question and say, hey, like, I'd love to get to know you a little bit more, and maybe when we come round to the table, I'll share a little bit more about what I do. I'd love to share a story with you. I'd love to just have a bit of a casual social event and being able to do that, rather than just initially knowing what your business is, and then people might not want to speak to you any further because it's not something that is an interest to them. So if you do have any questions around this, because I believe that it is about relationship building. And for me, I'm not a cold caller. I will never do cold calling. I will always go through someone. So about building relationships up with people means that you can start to ask for business and ask for referrals. And that for me is the way that I do my business. Some people might be absolutely fine with cold calling. I find the way that I do it works, and I feel like it builds more relationships with people. And I had a meeting this morning with one of the local counsellors in Redcliffe, and I had done this through someone else I had built a relationship up with, who was happy to pass on their details and use their name as a way of being able to get that meeting. So I then initially got that meeting, had that meeting this morning with that counsellor of the local area, and they're more than happy to refer me on to other people. So, and for me, that is that relationship building and being able to do that. So I take that into every networking event that I go into, is that it's about meeting people or opportunities, and you never know who they know. So you want to be able to build those relationships up from there. That's the way that I prefer to do things. However you do them is completely up to yourself. But being true to yourself and your worth and your value around your business as well, about who you work with. And it's okay not to work with everybody, and it's okay to say to people, no, you're not someone that I want to work with. You don't align with my vision and my values and my mission of what I do. I don't believe that you're a fit to work with my business. And that's fine to do that. And I think when we clearly communicate that with people, then it means that they know from the very beginning. So if you do have any questions, if you're watching this on replay or you're watching it just now, if you've even had, you know, any kind of similar experiences, or you're not sure how to deal with certain things, or if you were in my position, how you would have dealt with it. I'm not saying that my way is right or wrong. It was just the way that it was at that point in time, and the way that I needed to be able to communicate back to that person. But if you do have questions about anything that you've ever been asked in networking, and you're just not sure how to do it or how to redirect that so that you don't feel like you're falling into default all the time, and then wondering why you're not getting any business, you're not getting referrals, you're not building up those relationships with people. So it's about, what can you give to other people when you go to events? Who are the certain people that you want to build relationships up with? So setting a bit of that intention and the kind of outcome that you want from it. So I do want to talk a little bit. I'm still going to check the comments if anybody does have any questions, or if you want to comment on my story, then please feel free. And I'm wanting to look at helping people finish 2019 really, really strong, so that you are able to start 2020 already with business, already with referrals, already with new relationships, or building on those relationships. So I am looking at potentially doing some sort of challenge next week. Let me know in the comments if that's something you want to take part in, because we're coming up to Christmas, and we're going to be attending lots of social events. You know, we've got Melbourne Cup Day coming up for people in Australia. You know, we're going to be starting to go to a lot of social events in the festive season. And I know that when we're coming to the end of the year, it's so easy to slip into, hey, I just want to turn up and relax. I don't want to talk about my business. I don't want to be able to do that. I want to let my hair down, have a few drinks, like I've been working super hard all year. However, these are going to be the key moments that you want to be able to use, right? Because you're going to have social events. You're going to have family barbecues, right? And you don't know who they know or who's going to be there. So I want to be able to help people move forward with this, because there's 6 degrees of separation, right? Of who you know and who people know. So this is an amazing opportunity that there's going to be family, friends of family. There's going to be a lot more people around you that work in corporate space, have businesses. And this is where you could start asking people about who they know, who can they refer you to. And that starts being able to book meetings in January, be able to book client meetings, strategy calls, whatever it is, so that you can start strong in 2020 by getting your message clear and concise and confident now, before you hit the end of the year. Like we've still got another week next week of October. So you've got the whole of November, another week of October, and you've still got the whole of December, and all of those barbecues and all of these, you know, social events that you're going to go to. You literally have another 2.5 months of being able to grow your business and grow things that you want to do. You just have to put a bit of a strategy behind it, getting yourself super clear in that, and not being afraid to ask for referrals, because people want to help people. And if we don't ask, we don't get, right? They can only say no. And so what I want to look at doing is probably next week. So let me know in the comments if you want to take part in this. And I'll put something together. So we might even just do a live. I might do a post and get people to do a bit of a homework as well. I will do a post and let you guys know, but it's just something to help you potentially plan out the rest of the year, plan out events, plan out your intentions, your objectives, thinking about who are the people that are going to be there as well. Because, you know, no matter where you live, it is such a small place. It's such a small world, because someone always knows somebody. And even me that's moved to Brisbane from central Queensland, there's people I bumped into and they're like, oh, I know such and such back up there. Oh, do you? So there's always people that know. And it is about who they know. So let me know that this is something you'd be interested in taking part in, and I will do this next week, and I will let you know how and what and why, all of those things that we're going to do, because I have got quite a full-on week this week. Thursday and Friday I'm fully booked out with a workshop and an expo. So I won't get to that this week, but I'm thinking if we do it next week. But if you let me know live or replay that you'd be interested in getting a little bit more help on this, and then I'll put something together for next week so that I can help everybody be able to take advantage of the end of the year and all of those amazing events that you're going to be going to, and be able to start getting those contacts and connections in and being able to follow up with them. And that's the really biggest important thing, is when you meet people and potentially there could be a link there. Follow up is so important, absolutely important. Literally, as soon as I come home from an event or within 24 hours, if I've got their contact details, which I always do, or I'm on Facebook with them, I send them a message. Whether it's Facebook or email, I follow up with them. And that is absolutely key. And you do it within 24 hours so that the person hasn't forgotten about you and life has taken over. So we can chat a little bit more about that as well, about that whole package of communication, from initially from meeting them right up to how you start to follow up with them and keep building that relationship up. So that's a little bit of my story on networking. And I think the more networking you do, the more that you're going to be exposed and have these different encounters from different people, which is great, because I think it's all a learning and it's a skill that you can learn. So I think get out of your comfort zone and don't always go to the same networking events, because if you want to really grow what you're doing, grow yourself, then you want to be meeting new people all the time. You want to be able to stretch yourself, grow yourself, and be able to I suppose practice. Like if you start going to new networking events, you can use it as a platform to practice redirecting, practice your pitch, practice your stories, and being able to get really good at doing that, then start going to some new ones as well. So I hope this has been really helpful for you. Give me a thumbs up in the comments. Let me know some of any of your stories from networking events, and we'll be able to have a little bit of a chuckle together and be able to help each other out with that. All right, guys, have an amazing Monday afternoon, evening, and Monday during the day for everybody watching elsewhere in the world. And I'll be in touch soon with this challenge for the networking events. And I will catch everybody soon. I'll see you later. Bye.